Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with a brand new episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in tabletop role playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, and I use them together with input from you, anyone who's watching in the live stream right now, and the input from a die roller, a randomized die roller. Woo! Off to another stunning start. How about that? You all use all that to generate randomly, uh, randomly generated. I'm going to bed. Forget it. I'm just going to bed. No, use all that to create randomly generated prompts that I then use to create a cartoon out of it. And I do it while you're watching. I do it while I chat with you, tell you what I'm thinking about, some cartooning tips, maybe some gaming tips, maybe some what's happening in my life stories, and sometimes just me sitting here not saying anything because writing, drawing, and talking is sometimes hard to do. That's the concept. I've been doing it now for going on 100 episodes. I think this is episode 98. Coming up on the 100th episode real fast. I think, other than this intro, which I seem to stumble over every week, I think I'm beginning to get the hang of this. And you folks are coming back, so I guess I'm doing okay. Hey, Michael J. Pastor. Hey, Chris Andrew. Thank you, both of you, for showing up. Rented lips. Yeah, no, I'm breaking in a new pair of lips. I just picked them up this afternoon. Got to loosen them up. 97. All right, so this is episode 97. That's close. That's super close to 98 and pretty close to 100. Chris says, "Oh, great interview last night. Thank you very much." For those of you who are not aware, I have a Wednesday night show called 50 Years in the Dungeon. It has been going a little over a year. In fact, we kicked off the second season last night, and throughout the first year, I have been interviewing people who worked on Dungeons and Dragons. While I talk to them, I'm working on a drawing of an homage, a cartoon homage to a classic piece of D&D art. But with some input from folks, including Michael J. Pastor, who's in the chat room right now, I decided to celebrate the kickoff by flipping it around, and I was the subject last night. I had my friend and fellow D&D professional, gaming professional, James Louder, on to take the host seat and ask me questions, and I think it turned out pretty good too. Thank you, Chris, for saying that. Um, can we get cupcakes and celebrate the 100th episode? You can get as many cupcakes as you like. I suppose if you happen to be here, maybe I'll get a cupcake. But I can't send everyone cupcakes. Be great if I could get like a cupcake sponsorship. If I could, I would totally do that. I would totally do that. Cupcake 100th episode cupcakes. Or we could start planning ahead. Now we got 3 more weeks. It'll be the 100th episode. If you want to try and plan to have a cupcake ready for the occasion, I invite you to do so. I will. I'm trying to think of something special to do for the show anyway, and not really immediately coming up with anything. So if you have any thoughts, drop them in the chat. Whether you're live now or watching this at some other time, drop them in the chat. Anyway, now that I've rambled on for a bit, how about if I come over here and grab my iPad Pro? I do all the drawings on this show on an iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. None of whom are sponsors. There are no sponsors for the show other than me and all of my stuff. You can, there's lots of ways. I've got a Patreon. If you want to consider that the sponsor for the show. I know I used to have a. There we go. I have a Patreon over at patreon.com/Stanex. A D100 table of prompts. That would be so. Um, I suppose rather than getting right into drawing, I can say, I've thought about a few different things. Um, when I originally did a show like this, you know what? No, let's start drawing, and then I'll start with this story. So let me get my iPad set up. As I said, iPad Pro, Apple Pencil, Procreate app, not sponsored. I said all those things. Now I said them twice. So let's go over and have a look here. These are our encounter tables for the evening. And I will pop on over to the die roller and let's get going. So let's roll it up a bit. And three. Three is our first who. And one. One is our first what. So come back and find out that that means a doppelganger leprechaun. Interesting. Interesting. All right, so we're going to do a doppelganger leprechaun. Turn those off. I've got a blue pencil. I like to do my sketches in blue pencil. I have the right brush set. So as I start to think of doppelgangers in D&D. Doppelganger, of course, a German word first of all, and has a real life, a real place in real world folklore. But in D&D, a doppelganger is very similar to that. They are these gray, uh, featureless creatures that are able to take on the appearance of other things. They look a little bit like kind of large, pretty muscular gray aliens. If you're someone who's into UFOs and such. Um, so yes, so that's what we're doing. So I'm gonna let's had the right brush, but set way too large. Okay, so I'm gonna do as often happens in D&D. Um, Creatures change a bit from edition to edition, exactly what they look like, um, and I'm probably gonna do something that's closer to a third edition version of a doppelganger. Um, just because I like that look. And I looked up before the show. When I was putting this, um, put those table together, and I put the doppelganger on the chart. I I went to look up what doppelgangers look like in fifth edition, and they are much more like uh, mannequins, like gray mannequins with very little uh, features, but definitely human features, and I kind of like them looking more alien. Anyway, so what was I saying? What was I saying? Well, I think I was saying that when I first the the um, the idea that grew into this show started in 2021 when I did the well, wow, that's actually not true, but my first attempt at trying something like this was in 2021 during the Olympics, the Summer Olympics. I had a 30-day challenge for myself for doing uh, Olympic drawings that um, or drawings that mix the Olympics and D&D creatures, and I created a 20 spot uh, random encounter table. And each day I would get online and I would randomly roll a a creature and a sport, and I would draw that. Very much what we're doing here. Um, but but sports oriented. And so I had a I say a 20 spot thing, and each day when one whatever I used got taken off and I replaced it. So over the course of the month, I had actually a 50 spot uh, um, encounter table, and I'd worked up a spreadsheet with those 50 possibilities on it, and so it was fun. Uh, I like that, and you know, a large. The reason I chose, that's what I'm getting to, is the reason I chose to make the this show have a much shorter um, set of encounter tables is that I found it getting frustrating that you know there were entries on that 20 spot uh, encounter table that were there on day one and were still there on day 30 and never got picked. Meanwhile, things would come off the bench and come on and sometimes get picked right away. Sometimes the same day even. Um, and I kept looking at that and thinking, man, there's stuff on there I want to draw and it's just not coming up. So I thought that for this show, it would be better to keep the tables shorter, and so they would more. It would be more likely that the things that were there would get chosen, and they would still cycle through. And I've got a list of things to use that I go back to occasionally, um, and so that's why is that's me in my stumbling way saying that why I've got a short um, set of tables for this program. It was definitely a choice. That having been said, there is a lot of I get the appeal of a big long table. There's so many choices, and so doing that for the 100th episode, that's a possibility. I certainly have a bunch of the material that I would need to do that already, kind of lying around. Um, I'll tell you another thing that I have thought of doing, and I don't know why I haven't, except for you know not having the time. There's so many projects and so relatively little time. Um, I've been thinking, and I've thought for a while that it would be fun to take these drawings that are completed for the show and make like an ebook art book out of them. And and particularly, I mean, that thought particularly came because of the drawings I do each week for the intro, right, for the thumbnail and the intro, because I like those a lot, and they tend to really come and go without getting noticed much. And particularly, there are a few of them that I really liked, and I thought, well, that'd be a fun thing to do, and it would. And then I had a secondary thought that um, you know we talk a lot about drawing tips while I'm working on these drawings and about doing this at home and how easy and how much fun it is just to do this kind of thing. And then I thought, well, what I could do is make uh, a book that has an explanation for how to do improv cartoons as a exercise or a an event or a project or a game, and then provide a big, as Chris suggested there, 100 slot or more, or multiple tables with more than that, that folks could then, you know, buy, and I could maybe make a little money out of, and you could have fun at home doing improv cartooning. But as I say, that has fallen afoul of the I've got too many projects and not enough time problem, because I don't think that that would be a huge seller. I think there are people who would like it a lot, but it doesn't strike me as a huge seller, and um, it doesn't sync up with the a lot of the other work that I'm doing these days. It's not a natural fit, and so it just has stayed on the yeah, I really should do that one day list, and that's where it sits still. But when is a good time to do things like that? Times around, uh, you know, anniversaries, 100th episodes, or the end of the year. Like I'm gonna hit 100 episodes in a couple of weeks, and then I'm gonna hit the end of 2 full years of doing this in about a month after that. So both of those are the kinds of things that would give the excuse for putting together a project like that. Now I still don't have the time. Time continues to be a problem that I haven't solved for. But yeah, so I'm thinking about that. Maybe I will do um, a big long encounter table for the 100th episode, and we can just have fun with it. And then I'll have it set aside for when I need it. Maybe we'll see. Good. I mean, good idea. Oh, Michael's good idea. Who's ever gonna both of you together? Mike, yeah, Michael's good idea. Sorry, Michael, took it away from you. Um, so yeah, that's that's got possibilities. Here's the thing I don't really understand. Uh, Leprechauns and Irish folks in general, as I've seen in old, particularly old movies, but having the clay pipe, I get it. It's a traditionally Irish thing for a gentleman to smoke after a nice meal. Um, but they tend to have them upside down, and I don't know what that habit is all about or what it represents. I presume that it's true to some extent, but I don't know. Do you know? Does anyone out there know? Uh, Someone in the chat, Michael or Chris, uh, in the chat know that now. Put it in there. If someone watching this later knows, drop a comment. Let me know where if you have any insight into that particular uh, icon. And maybe that's something that's an Americanism and isn't true, particularly if there's someone from Ireland who's watching or whose family is Irish. And you can say, "Oh, for goodness sake, Brown, that's not true. We don't do that." That's terrible Irish accent. Yeah, I don't know. I do know that I very specifically do that because when I think about doing, we talk about this a lot, right? When you're doing a cartoon, you want to have, you want to make use of little symbols and iconography that convey the message you want and convey information about your character, particularly in a quick game like this, a quick drawing situation. All right, that's looking good. Let's turn off the sketch layer and see what we got. Yeah, the thing about doppelgangers or any creature like this, it's supposed to be um, to have very blank features. Is it they wind up looking very blank and uninteresting? You got to add extra little touches so they don't just look empty. All right, let's throw some colors, and then I've got some ideas for what I want to use for a caption. So we'll go to the color layer. I will draw over to the gloaming brush, which is a halfway color crayon marker kind of thing. I want a blue. I like a cool blue or a gray. I want a cool blue gray for the color for my uh, doppelganger. I'll use the shape within a shape concept to help get overcome that problem I was just talking about of its being a little blank. Give the hint of shapes, even if there aren't lines to support them. And I was thinking about doing that book thing. I thought, oh well, yeah, I mean, one of the things I can do is write up a little tutorial about some of the different things I do, some of the using shapes in the basic drawing breakdown, and the coloring, the shape within a shape coloring method. People might people might get a kick out of that. Okay. And now we're going to need some different shades of green. There's going to be a lot of green here because we've got a couple of leprechauns. Well, one leprechaun, one wannabe leprechaun. And here we go. Oh, I didn't do his hair. Well, he's for sure got to be a ginger, doesn't he? Our little leprechaun. I could put it actually red hair, but I like to do, you know, it's a real ginger is more orange than he is red per se. All right, darker green. Oh, I didn't finish the coat there. I got distracted. Shapes within shapes. You know, that's how it goes. That's the way to get some work done. I'm going to have darker lapels and darker pants to go with the darker green on the head, the band of the head, the hat, the bowler hat. And then a lighter version for where the sleeves are rolled up. That's a little too light though. Just a lighter version. That's a little too dark. Just got to find the right mix. Oh, there's sure, and that's a good mix there. Put that on the collars. Put a white shirt. So, he likes to dress nice, does our leprechaun. He keeps it a nice white shirt. And then we want something a little more yellowish green, a little more grassy green for the shamrocks. Clovers that they've got on their hats. We go there. We're gonna go with a bit of a there's a good color for the ale. And a lighter version of that to go as shading on the foam. A nice little foamy head on that. It's maybe a large Guinness. Or, a big mug of something else. Alright, I think that's looking pretty good. I think in particular, though, our doppelganger needs some shading again because there's so few details on. And now I'm talking to the bad Irish accent all the time. You're gonna get sick of this, yar. Because he's sitting here without a lot of details, we need to do a bit of shading again to help him look more complete, like he's part of this same world as our fine leprechaun there. I really should stop this, or I'll be doing it all night. I won't be able to stop it all. And I guess now that I've done those, it's looking like the large portions of green need a little shading too. Do this, as I always say, I do this not specifically not to draw attention to it, but so that I'm adding this because its absence, I think, is going to draw attention to its absence. So I better put it in there. Okay, we'll go back to our line slayer. And he's going to be saying, uh, top of the morning to you. This guy is going to be saying, your accent is terrible, lad. Top of the morning to you. And I'll stick a little stand in the corner because I think that's about all I'm going to do here. We've got a doppelganger leprechaun. Ba-da-ba-ba-doo-boop. Let me see. You guys have been having a nice conversation while I've been doing that. Let's scroll back up to when I see the 100 candles. Table of 100 prompts. Okay, let's see. You stole my gold. You stole my face. That's a good one. Fool's gold. I guess the clothes don't shape change. Yeah, it's, this happens every St. Patty's Day. You've had too much to drink, lad. I thought about saying something like that. Oh, Seamus, you've had too much to drink. Go home and sleep it off. I don't know. Maybe I should go back and do and make that a joke about the drinking. If that were the case, I really would want to change it. So I'm not going to do that. But that looking at that idea, I think that's a superior idea. And if I were going to redo this drawing for use, one of the things I would definitely do is change particularly the expression on the doppelganger's face, so he looks drunk. Now he just looks nervous about being found out. But if I could make him look drunk and kind of out of control, and then the other one, kind of saying, "You're drunk, lad. You're drunk. You're drunk, Seamus. Go home." I think that you have landed on a better gag that I'm not going to do tonight. As I so often say, these are supposed to be quick drawings. So I'm sorry I didn't see that earlier. I might have switched early on to go that, but now it's just going to live on as an idea. Maybe you could draw it, or someone else who's listening to this later on. Your thoughts on why the smoking is happening upside down? Yeah, those are possibilities that you guys put in there. Hello, Penny Firehorse. Welcome to the show. Glad you could make it. We have just finished our doppelganger leprechaun drawing, and we're kind of talking over some of the discussions. Maybe I'm going to draw you in on this, Penny. One of the questions I asked is, I drew the leprechaun with his pipe upside down because that is that's part of the image that you very, very often see about Irish in movies, on TV, or in drawings. They've got these clay pipes, and they're very often holding them upside down while they're smoking them. And I don't know why that is. I know for sure it is. That's why I drew it that way. And none of us know the reason why either. All right. Whew, we're having some fun. Another sip here. Come back and we'll reset it and then go again. So we'll turn off round 1 and turn on round 2. Set back to my blue brush. Turn on the table. And all right, we had a doppelganger leprechaun to start off. Let's go back to the dice and see what we get for our second drawing. Gonna roll them bones. Roll it, and 6. 6 we know is adventures. They come up a lot. 6 and 4. 6 and 4 is what we got here. So we got adventurers, New Yorker cover. Oh, I almost took that off this time. That's been on the encounter table for a few weeks because because a couple of weeks ago was the 100th anniversary issue of the New Yorker. It's been around 100 years, and I thought it would be fun to do a drawing commemorating that. now that we're a couple of weeks past it, I thought, well, maybe it's time to take it off. But I'd give it one more shot. And the dice have not let me down. We're going to use it, and it's going to come off after a round of glory. But we got Adventurer New Yorker cover. Oh, goodness. I was really hoping a monster would come up with that, but it didn't. And this part of this is about the challenge. So, um, so the very first New Yorker cover um, featured a dandy character who's become like the unofficial, semi-official uh, um, logo. My brain is refusing the word that I want. Um, but the semi-official representative of the New Yorker, and you'll I'm going to draw it very quick. He's got a big tall hat. He's got his nose in the air. He's got a very long necked, old fashioned outfit, and he's holding a monocle up and looking at a butterfly. Eustace, I can't remember Eustace's last name. The character was given the name Eustace something or other later. Originally, it was just the dandy. And so I figured that whatever we did here, I would take advantage of that. That would be what we use for the lots of Hirschfeld lines. I Hirschfeld did not do a lot of drawings for the New Yorker. I'm a huge Hirschfeld fan. Huge Hirschfeld fan. I've just been. I was just listening to the Hirschfeld Association. Has a monthly podcast. I was just listening to the latest episode last night. Love, 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 love Al Hirschfeld's drawings. All right, let's clear that off. Um, so we're gonna want though. I'm gonna put a very, very lightly in. We're gonna want something that's going to take up that kind of positioning. Now, that's going to be the layout for our New Yorker cover thing. Now, the two things I want to do is who is the question for this drawing is who is this? Who am I going to make in that role, and what am I going to replace the butterfly with to for um, our drawing? So I think I'm going to we'll make this guy an elf. Like that. We'll give him some kind of clip on his cloak. And then then the question here is what is going over there? I guess maybe a dragon, little mini dragon, like a pseudo dragon or a fairy dragon. dandied up adventurers looking uncomfortable in the formal wear. Yeah, there could be a good um, just that drawing of them all standing around like this. Uh, that would be a fun. But I think we're gonna have him setting fire to his hat there. I do like that idea of a bunch of adventurers standing around in the formal wear, looking uncomfortable. There are times, and I've said this before, times when I kind of we have these ideas, and I'd love to spend some time, and sometimes I do wind up going back and spending time to do a finished version of them. But like I said a few minutes ago, the point here at the moment is to do a quick drawing that captures the idea or part of the idea, and um, not worry about it being finished and perfect. If it's a good idea, and even if it's a so-so idea, think about it. Come back and draw it again later, rework it later. And if it's a good idea, come back, let the idea percolate a little, maybe add some extra special ideas to it, and then draw a new version of it where I take my time and am really um, am yeah I'm making the effort to have a finished uh, usable piece. This one, I think it's going to turn out nice. I think that what we're going to have here will be a nice finished looking piece. So, I mean, some of the things I do here look polished, or look more polished than other pieces. I think just already I'm looking at this. I have a feeling that this is going to look fairly polished when we're done with it today, but it won't really be done. There we go. I gotta make sure I get that. Yeah, I mean, I'm really liking what this basically is starting as. And then up here, we're going to zoom in nice and tight and do a fairy dragon. I'm not sure exactly what this is. I think it's like a fairy dragon. I suppose here of giving them just I got to make sure they don't look like bat wings. I thought about making them like butterfly wings, but I don't think that works so great either. Also, I don't draw butterfly wings very well. And we'll give them a little tail, maybe some ridges along the back. That mouth needs. I want him to be smiling, so it's clear he's being playful. But maybe how else can I do that? Give him half-lidded eyes, so he's playing around. He's not trying to hurt anyone. Man, I tell you, I don't know what it is, but I really like the way the face that on that main character came out. What's my favorite monster to draw? Michael Pastor asks. I just go up here. We got the Hirschfeld lines. Adventures all dandied up. Looking pixie through glass. What's my favorite monster to draw? Let me take a sip while I think about that. And the reason it's hard, instead of answering like what I think my favorite drawing monster to draw is, I'm trying to think of what monster appears most in my notebooks when I'm just doodling for fun, right? Because I think that probably is the answer, but I wouldn't. It may not be the answer I think of. Like when I'm purposely wanting to do something, I will draw like dragons seem to be the easy answer. I do like to draw dragons a lot, but I'm trying to think of when I'm just doodling around. Just got my notebook out and I'm sitting around, just putting images down for the sake of putting a few things down. And what do I draw most often? And I think that is probably what is going to be my favorite thing to draw because I draw it most often. And to that end, it probably is gonna. It's probably going to end up being a dragon or a beholder or a. I draw a lot of goblins too. Those are probably the three that show up most often. All right, let's pop in and do some color here. I don't know that we need a lot of color. Um, and I'm kind of happy when I think about that because those are monsters I probably would say. I also probably say vampires show up a lot, and I would not have said my favorite thing to draw is a vampire. There are a lot of vampires when I think about it in my um, in my sketchbooks. Let's see. Hmm. Make the brush bigger to fill this big area. Again, one of the things about the shape within a shape thing method is that, like there, where I want that to be one area, it's important that it looks like a single block of color. And if I did it like this, I'd have to work harder to fill it up. I'm still thinking about that favorite monster question. That's why I'm quiet right now. So I'm still thinking about that. I want to. It's an interesting question. I want to give a good answer to it. Hmm. I'm not sure if I should give his neck. I mean that on the New Yorker one, that's definitely always a white neck piece that he's wearing. But this is not the New Yorker; it's an adventurer. So I'm gonna feel free to make that change. We are only paying humble homage to the New Yorker. We don't have to meet 100% with its specifications. And you're going to start with pink as the undercolor. Maybe some blue. That's a little too dark. I'm going to have him have delicate colors. They all have to be delicate colors. Kind of a yellow. Not quite so dark. A lighter yellow. And a very light green. And what else do we need here? Now I do want a sharp yellow. Nope. I want a good. Give him some. That's too dark. Oh. Nope, still too dark. There we go. Some coloration, some spots on him. And then we come in with a strong yellow for the fire. And a strong, get rid of that, a strong red to go with it. And, of course, we're going to need some gold. Yeah. All right, now do just a little bit of shading on it. Not a lot, but a little to emphasize some depth and texture, as I always say. How to Lose a Familiar in 10 Days. There's a title you could probably sell to Netflix. that's a that's a title that suggests a story, which is the best thing to have if you're trying to sell it. Let's see, just a little bit, even less than usual. Oh, no. And the cloak. Having done all that, the cloak really has to have it. Or it's just going to look like a big marshmallow. There we go. So I'll come back to the inking layer. I'll come back to my normal brush, and I'll put a little stand in the corner. And we have the Adventurers tip of the hat to the New Yorker cover. My best spell did. The Great Search for a Parking Spot. There we go. New Yorker cover. Adventurer New Yorker cover. I think that looked in the end, if someone were to guess what we're going on here, it'd be more like Elf and New Yorker cover. There's nothing that screams adventurer about that guy. But I think we wound up with a fun drawing, and that's actually the point, right? The point here is to take an idea we didn't have before and make a fun drawing out of it. Thank you, Chris. Chris says, nicely done. A tip of my oversized hat to you. But yeah, I mean, I look at that, and there are, because I didn't keep the neck piece white, and I and a couple of other small details, I think that people who are not here right now would look at this and not immediately think New Yorker cover. But that's all right. The cloak makes it feel like an adventure. Okay, good. Whoa, so glad I added a cloak then. I think I really like this as a drawing, and I'm super happy we did it. Doing my critique in my head, I say I'm not sure that with the coloring job I chose, I think that detracts from the immediate recognition that this is a New Yorker cover nod. Um, do you know what else I would have done? Oh, here's another thing. If I think about this, I would do the elf in gray, like like a black and white watercolor wash, like most of the cartoons in the New Yorker, and then I would do the little fairy dragon in color, and that way I certainly would keep the neck piece white, and I think that it would make the New Yorker connection more obvious, and I think it would also make it a fun piece. I may, you know what, I do like this a lot. In my copious spare time, I may come back and take a crack at a more polished version of this. But I like what we've done. Good job, folks. So Old Yorker. It'd be ye old Yorker. Old with an E, of course. All right. Let me reset it again. We'll do one more. I'll do another sip. I'll get ready. I'll have another set up, and we'll do another drawing and finish it out for the evening. So turn off round 2 and turn on round 3. We'll make sure we're on the brush we want and on the color we want. And turn back on the encounter tables. And grab the diet soda. Ready? You ready, folks? All right, we had I did it again. I'm gonna reset that again. But I've talked about this before. I have this habit when I go back to edit, add the bookmarks to the video so that you can jump ahead from scene to scene. I notice that I always start from a blank with, all right, here we go. Yeah, all right, and a lot of that. As a person who has done stage and radio and other kinds of performances, you want to avoid those kinds of things. You want to just start. Don't have that. It's the kind of thing that if I ever got to get any social traction and someone was trying to do a mimicry of me, some kind of imitation, or a Saturday Night Live skit, or certainly wouldn't be Saturday Night Live, but some comedy show wanted to do it, that would be one of my tells. One of you're going to do a stand imitation. Starts with, all right, well, I'm working on it. Okay. And I don't know what to say. Oh, sip it again. Do it. Come on. Get your head on straight. Your head in the game, Stan. We had an adventurer and in a New Yorker cover. We had a doppelganger leprechaun. Let's go back to the dice, roll one more time, and do a third drawing, and then we can head off into our weekends. So, roll over here and start rolling them bones, and rolling, and 5. 5 is our final who, and rolling. 5 is also our final what? 5 and 5. That will be a T-Rex Circus Strongman. Okay. T-Rex Circus Strongman. So we're going to come here and turn off the tables, go to the sketch layer, and we're going to do a T-Rex Circus Strong. What do we got here? Thump has been there for a while. Yeah, the dice just haven't come up with Thump. You know, one of the things I do when a creature or thing has been on there for a while and hasn't gotten rolled, I'll sometimes move it around on the table. Randomization being what it is, sometimes you'll just have these long periods of time when a number doesn't get rolled. The same way, some weeks we have the same 3 numbers rolled over and over and over again. Randomization is a funny thing. Let's see, Chris Andrews says, off topic, but DL Saga YouTube channel, just read a Dragonlance newsletter from 1998. and I was featured prominently. Yes, that would have been Legends of the Lance. I almost said, I know him. Well, you do. You should have said it. Maybe you would have gotten a cupcake. All right, a T-Rex Circus Strongman. I know there's nothing on here. I'm waving my pencil, my brush over my stylus over the thing. we've got to give him the typical Circus Strongman kind of Fred Flintstone toga thing. His arms are too short. That's where the joke is. Okay, so then we're going to need a ringmaster here who's not happy with him. That's going to make him. Let's see. Let's see. I'm now worrying about the shape of this drawing. But I don't. I really shouldn't. I should just come over here. So we're going to make the. It's looking very snidely. I was going to give him a little mustache, but I think he starts looking very snidely whiplash when I do that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but the joke is it's not that they're too heavy. You know, I just can't reach them. Trying to get a good posture for this guy. I had him in a very upright, standard posture, a very boring posture. So I wanted to get his legs a little better. There we go. It's like this guy's gonna say, "I said, lift it," and he's gonna say, "He's gonna say something like, uh, I can lift it. I just can't reach it." That's what I'm toying with. Now, you you guys, while I'm doing the drawing, you can in the chat if you want to play around with how that's phrased. I'm kind of happy with that, but I'm not 100% sold on it. But I do like that. I do like that pacing of that. Lift it. I can lift it. I can reach it. I can't. Maybe, and that may even be what I want to go with. Lift it. I can reach it. I can't. Anyway, think about that because I'm about to shift over to drawing the lines and putting it in there. Go up to the lines layer. Good. Here again, let's say this kind of bent legs and hand in the air just makes for a more interesting character than him standing there um, in a very generic kind of posture. You want to improve your cartoons. Uh, that that makes a huge difference. Just remembering to just get the mix the posture up. Try and get a posture that uh, is not generic. And that's a good thing to practice too. And you'll get when if you're drawing from a photo or from a model, a live model, you'll have the postures in front of you. It's a good thing to practice in your just fun sketch time, just drawing uh, characters in unusual postures, kind of stretching and practicing um, putting the weight, distributing the weight in a way that is believable. Because a lot of artists out there, a lot of people who draw, you'll see them. They're very good at drawing what feel like the kind like on if you're playing a computer game and you're testing what the clothing is. There's a generic just kind of standing there posture. People get very good at drawing that, but um, that gets boring very fast. And you your skills, your drawing skills, will uh, get lost if the drawing itself just doesn't have some kind of excitement in it. And it's uh, learning to do these postures, learning to how to move the weight of the character around and have these uh, different postures is a big advantage in getting people to recognize how good the drawing is that you're doing, how good your drawing skills are. And the thing is, you probably are able to do it already. You just are out of practice, or you haven't practiced it. All right, that's looking pretty good. Hmm. All right, that's looking good. We turn off the sketch layer and see what we've got there. Needs a little extra to bring it all together. And I'm going to take those lines out. I'll use color to. What I want to do is give that feeling that there's a socket here that the eyes are in. And I'm going to use color to bring that out rather than try and add it with the lines. There, I like that. There, I like what I have drawn. Okay, we're going to go over to the colors layer. Switch over to the gloaming brush again. And we'll start putting in some colors. I think that some kind of red, dark maroon, that's a little too dark probably for the main color on our ringmaster. Even darker version for the lapels and the hatband. And we will continue. Hold on. There we go. I open this. And going back to that. All right. So now maybe a faux black for the shoes. And the pointer slash whip. Peachy skin color. And then our T-Rex is going to be a greenish brown. Here, I'm not going to worry about making a lot of details, even in the color within a color. Uh, I don't want to draw the attention to his back and shoulders. So as you can see, I just did one big splotch there. Um, and oh, I'm going to go back to that faux black that I had for the weights. I think I want to do a green gray. Just to put a little shadow on the ground. So I'm not going to go in and draw a background on this one, but putting that at least gives you the definite feeling of where the ground is at. Another couple there. All right, and let's turn the sketch on again so I can look at those. Let's see what you guys have. Hello, Linnea. I see you have popped in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Wash a tone, buddy. One bite. That's all it'll take. That, you know, in a multi-panel. If this was part of the story, that that would be good. But you need to tell the first joke. That's a follow-up to the joke that's happening on here. It's funny. I'm trying to think it, and with some tweaking, that could be the main joke that is going on here. Not what I've drawn. So that's just going to have to live in the back of our heads. All right. I wondered how you were going to do it. Speaking of odd fish, when oh, the ball player sliding into second. Yeah, well, there's another one that's it also having doing those practice things, right? Practicing drawing characters in weird positions. Just kind of as complicated as this ringmaster, right? They don't even worry about getting details on it. But practicing drawing them like that and getting the posture right makes it then easier when you're doing a more completed drawing to apply that. It's the kind of muscle you want to have your muscle memory for how to put their muscles on the screen. All right, we're going to go back to the inking layer and the inking brush. Um, and I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna turn off the sketch layer because I want to rephrase that. And I think this guy is he's gonna be very rude. He's gonna be saying, "Come on, you great beast." Lift it. And the great beast is going to be saying, "Lift it. I can." Reach it. Not so much. And so, uh, when you're doing cartooning of your own, you will really grow to develop a pattern, a style of speaking, a style within your dialogue that kind of feels right to you. It's kind of like learning to tell a story in any way. Um, and this is very much in my pattern, right? I don't know that anyone else would come up with the idea of phrasing it like this. This is very much in my pattern. Michael says, "Me with the multi-panel again." Well, I mean, that's, you know what? There's a lot. It's a tough. Uh, it's a very particular skill to do single panel cartoons. There's a podcast I like to listen to called Comic Lab. I probably talk about it a lot here. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. Um, and on Comic Lab, both of the guys on there, they will very often say that uh, they consider uh, single panel cartoons the hardest thing to do. I don't uh, I don't know that I agree with them, or for me, I don't find it the hardest thing to do, but it is a very particular skill, and you wind up having to think about things like this, and they'll talk about this just this particular lesson, that it, there are a lot of ideas you can come up with that, because in order to make them work in a single panel cartoon, you've got to get rid of a lot of great versions of the joke or iterations in the joke, because a single panel cartoon has to live in that moment. And if your joke requires a beat or a timing of delivery, a single panel cartoon is not going to have that. The single panel cartoon is a single instant. Um, and it's challenging to think that way, and there are a lot of people out there who do single panel cartoons that um, there are a lot of amateur or semi pro single panel cartoons that I see that the reason that they are amateur, the reason I consider them amateurish is because they fail that, uh, or the reason why I don't consider them fully professional or finished or publishable is because they fail that test. They don't they've got a good idea. It's not that they don't have a good idea. It's not that they draw badly. It's that they've created something that is trying to be a single panel cartoon and not succeeding in being a single instant. It's something that comes up when uh, when I've worked with writers who are trying to put together scripts uh, for comic book for panels on comic books, or writers who are trying to write art orders for uh, a, a a game product. We very often have to write art orders for our game products. When I was working at TSR or Wizards or anything, when you're publishing something, if you're going to have an artist draw it for them, you need to send them an art order. And very often, when writing a description, those illustrations are basically single. I mean, they're not cartoons, but they're like single panel cartoons in that they are just a snapshot of a moment. And very often, when game designers or writers will write these descriptions out for the artists, they will write a description of a scene of action happening. It begins like this: the wizard picks up a flask and throws it at the guy across the room. Well, you can't have a single panel that has him picking it up and throwing it and it going across the room. It picks it up, throws it at the guy across the room, and it explodes. Those are at least three distinct moments. And so if you give that to an artist, they don't know, they can't, it flummoxes them because they think I can't show him picking it up if he's thrown it. And if it's already exploding, at best I can have him have a follow through or maybe a trail through the air. But we have a tendency, we professional writers and game designers have a tendency, if we are not taught differently, to we think of the scene and we think of everything that led to it and we put that in the description. And that's the same kind of thing, Michael, that why what you've got for your multi panels is you're thinking of a funny scene, which requires a beat and beat and beat. Um, Now, it's very often possible to take that last beat and that's what it is, but you've got to somehow, you can't, you've got to get all the information that would have been gotten in those earlier panels in there to start with. It's hard. It is hard. Um, and I think it's mostly hard conceptually. You got to learn to think like that, and you've got to practice thinking like that. I'm going to put my little stand in the corner because I believe we have completed here a T-Rex Circus Strongman. No, not lifted I can't. Lifted I can. Oh boy. Lifted I can. Reach it? Not so much. Yeah. There we go. Done. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. And I will stop blathering on and on about my theories on single panel cartoons. Actually, I've thought a lot about doing a, a a class, a webinar, an online learning thing somewhere about single panel cartoons, like taking your upping your single panel cartoon game, and not have it be about the drawing, have it be about what you need to think about and refine. In you come up with your ideas. You it's on you to become it. You're a cartoonist. You can draw stuff. You can think of funny things. All right. Well, let's talk about how to make these single panel cartoons better. Uh, but who the hell wants to listen to me? If I was getting published in the New Yorker, I could probably do that pretty successfully. But I may, you know what, I may well do that. I'm not sure whether it would be a just a like a webinar or put together a class to sell on one of those sites that do those online learning, or do a see Chris says a workshop. A workshop. My first idea was to do it as a two-part thing. One is a lecture, me talking about it, and then giving an assignment, and then as a workshop being okay. Now, in a reasonably sized group, you bring some in and let's talk about them and workshop them. Also, that ups the value. I certainly could charge for a seat in that class if it includes one-on-one workshopping of your ideas. Or, and even better than one-on-one, like I say, a group of 5 or at most 10 other cartoonists, and probably 5 is better for online. It's very much like some classes I took at School of Visual Arts when I was younger. Anyway, have another sip and then we will rocket it out of here. We have here a dinosaur Circus Strongman. That was our third drawing of the evening. Before that came a New Yorker, an adventurer New Yorker cover mashup, and a Doppelganger Leprechaun. And those were our drawings for this week. I want to thank everyone for showing up. Michael Pastor and Chris Andrew had some really great ideas. I used a bunch of them. I told them why a few of them were not good. Not good. Were not ready for prime time. They were good, in fact. That's what we were saying. Um, and I blathered on and on about my theories on doing single panel cartoons, um, which I happen to think is a good blather, but it still was blather. So, thank you. Um, Chris Andrews says to seem to have the collaborative nature and patience of a great teacher. Thank you. Thank you very much. I was a teacher in my mid to late 20s, and I like teaching very much. I've been a teacher, I've been a coach. And my father was a teacher. I do like it. I think I've got some skill to that regard, and I like doing it. So try to do it more. Thank you, everyone, for coming and hanging out with me, doing some drawings. I hope maybe you did some drawings too. Certainly, even if you didn't, thank you for coming and brainstorming with me. We're throwing ideas around, we're having fun. If you're watching this on replay, I hope you can come and join us sometime on a Thursday night and be part of the live chat. That'd be fun. I'm hoping to do some events like this at conventions that I go to, and I'm scheduled to go to 2 later this year or in the next year. One's in the fall and one's in early 2026, and two in early 2026. So I'm hoping to do that. I think this would be a really fun thing to do with a actual live crowd at a con. Um, I will, as always, post these online in a bit. If you want to make sure that you see all the things I draw and post, going to my, following my Facebook or my Instagram is a great way to go. But if you really want to be absolutely sure, the best way to do that is to be a member of my Patreon community, because one of the things I do for them is make sure that all the stuff I draw, I deliver in an email to their inbox, so you never have to worry that something will slip by. And $3 is the lowest value, lowest entry on that. I think $5 is a basic one that will get you all of the stuff, uh, um, and it helps me out. Right? Certainly, in these times, we're looking at how the the economy, blah 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 blah. It's getting harder and harder to be an independent freelance cartoonist. So anyone who wants to uh, make sure that I continue to do these kind of things and wants to get access to all of them and an inside line to me, my Patreon is a good place to go. Patreon.com/Stanex. Thank you all for being here. I had a very good time, as I always do. Thank you to Michael and Chris and Linnea and Fox Trick. I see you in there, Fox Trick. I appreciate you all showing up and having a good time with me. I'll be back next week. I hope you will join me. Until then, take care, and I'll see you. Bye.